Okay. Looks like we are live. My computer crashed. So
So we're live now?
We are live right now. I just
Awesome.
came back in the studio here and noticed that the intro had not worked and that it was just kind of like in limbo here. And so we are live. This is the Signals from Mars live stream for March 19th, 2021. I'll fix my hair here, if that's such a thing. But we are joined once again by Mr. Brad Dahl from Yarg Metal.
Yeah. Here we are. Hopefully you can hear me okay.
I can hear you fine. I don't know.
Fantastic.
I'm starting to think that it was my that it was my computer somehow. Yeah, so we have already Black Sabbath. Cool. Just so you know, to all you people on Facebook, we don't know who you are unless you go and you check on this link here, because you have to give the rights or permission to be able to log in. We have Rob joining us. Hello, Rob. How are you doing, sir? We have Jose joining us, saying
Hey,
what's
Jose.
up, me and Brad. And let's see how this looks. Got the chat overlay here. So if anyone wants to chime in, they can. And tonight's theme is going to be based on something that Brad proposed. He recently did, or he started doing something with Yarg Metal. At least he started doing something where I was involved and brought to my attention, at least, which was Band of the Week. The Band of the Week was AC/DC. And so there were a bunch of different people that decided to... Wonderful. My Alexa device is now... I've triggered it somehow, and it's now started to play the news in the background. Cool. Murphy's Law night, folks. We're starting in with all the jokes and haberdashery right from the start. So yeah, so anyone that is on Facebook wants to join us, this is the link you need to click on. That way we know who you are, because right now, like I said, on Facebook it just says Black Sabbath. Cool. Shows up like this, Facebook user. So for us to know who you are, see your picture and all that, you got to click on that link, and then we can we know who you are, so we could say, hey, it's Jim Dandy out there in California. Hey, Jim, how you doing tonight? So,
well, I know the boss of Yarg Metal, CEO Dave, is actually joining in.
Oh, wow.
Hopefully he's figured out how to make this happen. And I know he's not on Facebook because he's been banned from Facebook. That is not a joke. That's for real. He's banned from Facebook, banned from Twitter. Yeah, who knows what's next?
Well, if he can join us on...
yeah, he's on YouTube.
He's on YouTube. Okay, that'll work.
Yeah, I hope so. So hopefully you're listening, Dave. Let's get it. There we go, Dave. All right.
Facebook jail for life. That is right, Rob. So yeah, so cool. So again, if you guys want to participate, you most certainly can. So what was the catalyst to do this Band of the Week idea?
That's a great question. Part of it was just trying to, kind of work as a team with you and Mark, and try to create a little more, visibility for everybody out there.
Right.
And so I kind of got this idea that, guy, if we highlighted a band, had you guys pick songs, and then had you introduce them, and then I would, pimp out your podcast and that. Hopefully we could get some traction and get some more people crossing over and help everybody out. And as anybody who listened knows I've got other people on there too.
Right.
Some people from bands that I'm big fans of. Matt's from 220 Volt in
Mhm.
Sweden. I don't know if we have anybody from Sweden out there. Also from Sweden, Peter from Mean Streak.
Okay.
Those are two bands that I've loved 220 Volt since the late 80s when they first came out.
Mhm.
Always was a big fan of them, and they're still doing it. I mean, they don't have that many albums out, but they're going to have hopefully a new album out this year. So anyway, I thought, well, I can help promote my guys that are out there making good rock music, and that maybe
Right.
people don't know about. And so that was I was creating awareness, let's say.
Yeah.
Plus, I thought it'd be fun, and you know what? For me, anyways, it was a lot of fun. And full disclosure here, I'm I wasn't a big AC/DC guy, and not that I didn't like them. It's
Right.
just, again, going back to my teenage snobbery years, I only had a few bands I really was into. I figured they had enough press without me jumping on board.
Right.
So one thing this week really did for me was it turned me on to a lot of AC/DC songs I was not familiar with. The one thing that everybody who participated in it pretty much brought to the table was they brought out songs I didn't know. They weren't
Mhm.
picking the typical ones. And kudos to you, Victor, for picking something off the new album, because that's what I was gonna do.
Mhm.
That's actually the first AC/DC album I've ever bought, was the brand new
Oh,
one.
wow.
'Cause I
Cool.
figured, well, I'm supposed to be the champion of new music,
Mhm.
by not only new bands, but also established bands, because nobody else is championing their music. I don't know who else is playing that album. I'm playing it,
Mhm.
and I'll continue to play it and play a lot of songs off it. So I'm glad you picked a song off of that. I don't know what
Mhm.
anybody else thinks about um, Victor's choice. That was which
Which is spell.
which is Spell. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, and hi, Mila is joining us now. She logged in, so we know who she is. Hello.
Hey, Mila.
Welcome to the show, Mila.
Yeah.
Um, so here's the thing. Touching upon a few things, because Rob, who's in with us tonight, also has a show. I've always been I've always been of the thought that we're a brotherhood here. We're all trying to spread the love about music that we love. I have a lot of people that have said over the years, "Well, what's the worst album to come out last year?" And it's like, I don't remember. I just remember what albums I like. It's one of these things where there's too many good things to dwell on, just things that suck. Are you going to listen to something that you don't like? Are you going to try to go back and listen to it 100 times? No. But if you like a song, you may do that. So, a little while back, I had a website called Ear Peeler, which was all about spreading the love with podcasting. So I love the fact that we get to mix two things, like you said, mixing the promoting of new music, whether it's from a new band or an old band that's just putting out new stuff, and just promoting each other and mixed in with bands. So I love the idea 100%. So,
Yeah, everybody that participated, I think, had a good time as well.
right,
Well, and another participant was Ross Sampson from Rock Candy Magazine.
right,
Because I thought, I don't know how many people here have seen that magazine. I think it's fantastic, and it keeps getting better.
right,
And I kind of get the feeling they're not really doing that well.
mhm,
So I was like, yeah, we got to give them some love, man, because I mean, yeah, I'm an old guy, and I like the tactile, having the magazine, all the pictures and stuff, and it's
right,
really really well done. And the articles are just fantastic as well. I mean, these are guys who've been writing forever. They've been rock journalists since the early '80s, and maybe
mhm.
even before that. A lot of them are from Kerrang and some other British places. So yeah, so I thought I'd help them out a bit too. Um, but I know who's the guy from the Rock and Row podcast?
Yeah, his name is Rob Rowe.
Rob.
He's joining us. Yeah,
All
he's
right, hey
been with us
Rob.
the last two episodes, if I'm not mistaken. So
Okay.
we're
Rob, I'm going to extend an invitation to you if you want to participate in our next band of the week, which just happens to be Black Sabbath. Um, let's chat, man. Let's get you on board, man, because I'd love to promote your stuff. Okay. All right,
Yeah,
there you go. So
absolutely.
yeah, so Witch's Spell.
Yes.
Why did you pick that?
Just simply because there's a few things. I have a love-hate relationship with ACDC. It's my brother's favorite band. So I listened to a ton of ACDC over the years. And, similar to what you said, thankfully, no one picked, hey, let's do We Shook You, or, Back in
You
Black.
shook me all night long. Yeah,
You Shook
yeah.
Me All Night Long. Like the one track that I always skip off of that album. Because I've just heard it so much. That doesn't even fall under my once a year rule. That's one of those where it's just an automatic skip. It just drives me nuts, but I've heard it so many times. So when the album came out, first of all, my kids were ecstatic because this is something I talked to Mark about last week, because they're big on video games right now, and one of the biggest games is Fortnite. And they told me there's going to be an AC/DC special, and we can't wait to see it. And my kids went apeshit over it, over hearing AC/DC and seeing the video and this and that. And, for them, a mixing of two worlds, the music that, they listen to, mixed with the video games that they love to hear. So when Power Up was about to come out, I'd play videos here and there from it, the advanced ones. And then one day we were, due to all the COVID stuff, we went, and the only thing we could really do was go out and drive around. It's something that I've done, my whole life. I have the metal dentist who joins us sometimes. Shout out to him. It's something that we would do as kids. We'd pick 5 cassettes each, and we'd drive around Friday nights just listening to music. And so this is what we did. We one Sunday after the album came out, we had the album and we went out driving. And my kids instantly said, "Wow, this is AC/DC. Is this the new album?" I'm like, "Yeah, it is." And I enjoyed it. And I got to Witch's Spell, and the chorus is very simple. It's just got a witch's spell, got a tale to tell. And that's it. They just repeat that over and over again, but just the way that it's done with the chords and everything else, it just stuck in my head. And I said, "This is the one. This is my favorite track off of this album." It's just the way that the whole song is put together, and that's the cool thing about AC/DC. It doesn't have to be a million notes. Just it's just simple. It just gets in your head, and it just is there for a few days. That's the like watermark of a good song, is that if it can stay in your head, if you can remember the chorus for the next week, it's a keeper. And that's why I had to pick that song.
Great choice. Which my initial idea, and I'm kind of trying to carry through with this, is to go in an alphabetic manner. So of course we had A for AC/DC and B for something else that's going to come up next time, which
Right.
might be Black Sabbath. But another reason I picked AC/DC is because I've really noticed in the last probably 10 years, anytime I go to a concert and they play music in between the bands,
Mm-hmm.
if they ever play an AC/DC song, people stop talking to each other. And everybody just starts rocking and singing, and it's really quite a phenomena.
Right.
And I've also noticed this. I've seen the Rating the Rock Vault show a few times. I know
Mm-hmm.
some of them guys that are in that, and they do the show. It's really good and everything. They play all these rock songs from the 60s, 70s, 80s, and that's where
Right.
they stop. But when they do Highway to Hell,
Mm-hmm.
and guy, I think it's Robin McCauley that sings it. I could be wrong on that. They always let people mix it up. But when they start playing that song, everybody stands up. And I mean, that's the only song that gets everybody up.
Right.
So I'm like, this is something. I mean, this is a band that's done something I don't know any other band has done. And I actually did this at work when I was getting ready to do this, I asked people at work who are not rock people. I said, "Hey,
Mhm.
what's your favorite AC/DC song?" Everybody had one, and these are
Wow.
non-rock people.
Wow, cool.
I'm like, what other band? What other band has that?
Yeah.
I mean, has that kind of appeal that everybody knows an AC/DC song? And yeah, it might be the obvious one. But anyway, back to our choices. Guy, I wish Jeremy
Okay.
was here. I hope he's feeling okay. Um, I wanted
Yeah,
to talk about
he
I wanted
hasn't
to talk
joined
about
in.
his choice. Is he
Yeah.
there?
No, he hasn't joined in yet, so I
Okay.
know he was telling us that, he wasn't feeling well, so we hope that he is doing better.
Yeah, yeah. So Jeremy, he'll probably watch this afterward. But anyway, as I sat there, because I obviously listened to all these songs several
Right.
times, and anytime I'd run the block, it was for me, it was kind of hypnotic to listen to all. We had 10 songs going, to listen to them all and listen to everybody's introduction. But his choice was one. It was a song I was not familiar with, "Gone Shootin'."
Okay.
I guess it's at the end of the Power Age album. And every time that song came on, I was like, man, I just love the groove of this song, especially of course I'm a bass player, but I mean the bass part. And during the lead, I'm hoping it's Cliff Williams that plays on that. But during the lead, instead of just hitting eighth notes, he's actually like walking on the bass and doing some really cool bass lick stuff that
Right.
I've not heard in an AC/DC song before. And I'm like, but yet keeping the groove. And so yeah, so A plus to Jeremy for picking that song and turning me on to that.
It is Cliff Williams on that.
All right, cool.
The only song that he doesn't play on Power Age is Cold Hearted Man, and that was played by Mark Evans.
Ah, all right, cool. So I mean, there were some obvious ones. The song I was going to pick. Somebody else picked it, and that was Sin City. And I realized that's a pretty well known AC/DC song. It's not something off the beaten path, but it's not one you're going to hear on the radio all the time either. You're not
Right.
going to hear it at a sporting event or anything like that.
Mhm.
But it's the one that, as far as and all the bands that I've been in, I've played that song more than any other AC/DC song. And so I was like, I was going to pick that one, but Peter from Mean Streak picked that. So I was like, all right, I'm going to let you have that one. And so anyway, that's the way. It's a fun song to play, by the way.
And what song is that?
Sin City. I'm
Oh, Sin
sorry.
City. Okay, my bad.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I maybe I didn't say what it was.
Yeah, I believe that's
Um,
actually my brother's favorite AC/DC song, if I'm not mistaken.
yeah, it's a great song to play, and the singer that we had, and of course I played it with different bands, but the my main band that I played it in, he could really nail that stuff. Um, let's see, and then my brother, CEO Dave, who we've talked about this. 4 of his 5 top favorite bands are Black Sabbath. I thought he'd have nothing. Okay, I thought
Right.
he'd come out going, "Oh, AC/DC," but no, he was totally into it, and he had a bunch of songs that he wanted to go with, but he went with "Walk All Over You,"
Okay.
yeah, which that's from Highway to Hell, right?
I believe so. Yeah, I
Okay.
mean, the majority of the songs that were picked were Bon Scott songs, if I'm not mistaken. Uh,
Um, yeah, we've got some Brian songs, which, by the way, I gotta say, I really fallen in love with Brian. That little, when he got tossed out of AC/DC and he did that
mhm.
interview show for a year on Access. I don't know. Have you seen that?
I haven't, but he's had a
He's got
few.
his own
I think
YouTube
he's got like
channel now.
3 seasons of that. And
Okay.
actually that supposedly is to blame for his hearing loss, not the actual, playing with the band. Apparently, he had an incident where he was in a race car, and the engine was right behind him, so the sound of the engine is what messed his ears up. So I guess there, if you believe the rumors, there were issues with the band being pissed off that his side job was affecting his day job. So that's kind of why that happened. But Mila, you asked why I call the show Mars Attacks. Not because of the movie. Real quickly here, I had another podcast before this called Fusion Sonica, which was done all in Spanish, and Mark Streagle proposed that I do a podcast in English, and it took me all of like 9 hours to say, sure, why not? But I have to come up with a name. And I've played with a Misfits tribute band off and on for the so I've been podcasting for 11 years. So for the last 12 years, I decided to put my iTunes, my every single song on shuffle. And I said, the first song that comes up, whatever it is, I'm naming the show that. And Mars Attacks by the Misfits came on. And I said, oh, this makes sense. I play, with a Misfits band. And also, it coincides with the name that I had in the Talking Metal forums, which was Mars Aries 2005, because Mars and Aries, being a comic book fan that I am, and it hails back to the days of the Roman and Greek gods. Mars was the Roman god of war, and Ares was the Greek god of war. So there were three things that kind of lined up, and I said, okay, there we go, Mars Attacks. If Universal or whoever owns the movie ever comes after me and says, you can no longer use the name, at least I have signals from Mars as a backup plan. So there you go. Let's see.
That's a good plan, because when you Google Mars Attacks, you get a lot of stuff, and it's not you, unfortunately. Which that was a trick coming up with the name for the radio station. I'm like, okay, I got to find something that nobody else has ever used,
right. Mm-hmm.
And it was a struggle. And but anyway, came up with this, and there's only one Yarg Metal.
There you go.
Although somebody went and stole our domain. Well, at least tried to anyway.
Those are the bots.
Yeah, there you go. Okay, well, let's talk about some Brian songs. Anyway, back to I fell in love with Brian through his show that he was doing. Yeah. I mean, he is just such a genuine, just good guy. I mean, the fact that he can get Robert Plant, just to meet him at his place and walk around and talk, and I'm like, hey, he's just friends with everybody, and I can see why, man. I want to be friends with him. So, maybe we can make that happen someday. Okay, so let's talk about some Brian songs here. Joey Haney of Rock Strikes 10, he picked Landslide, and that's from what album is that? Flick of the Switch. Yeah, that he was talking about that record. And I gotta say, it was an all right song, but it wasn't your typical AC/DC song. I don't know. You got anything to say about that?
Hold on. I'm finding what I want to say about it. Joey, for whatever reason, I know the reason, but a few years back decided that he was going to disagree with pretty much everything that I said online. So I've kind of ignored him as a result. One of the things that he disagreed with me on, which I was trying to be friendly about, was AC/DC's Ballbreaker album, which personally I think is a really good album. I think it's got like 4 or 5 really strong albums. And honestly, between Ballbreaker and Power Up, I don't care for any of the albums in between. I think every album in between is kind of weak. So, I don't want to get too much more into that, but being someone that's heard that album quite a bit, I thought that maybe the title track or maybe even Fire Your Guns or something like that kind of stand out to me more than Landslide. But hey, to each their own. See, that goes to prove that you can have an opinion on something, and it doesn't mean that you're absolutely right. So that's the moral of this story. There was once the great Bruce Dickinson who happened to say,
and the moral of this story is this is what not to do if your bird shits on you.
but, everyone has their opinions. No one's right or wrong in this. So Joey loves that song. Cool.
Yeah, and I thought it was cool too. I was like, okay, that's a song, another song I'd never heard before, and I was like, yeah, it's an all right song, but it's not one that I'm gonna put on my playlist normally. But anyway, I applaud his reaching out there and picking something off the beaten path. Okay, so let's talk about another Brian song. Mats Carlson of 220 Volt. He picked one again, another song I'd never heard before. Inject the Venom.
Mm-hmm.
You have a comment about that one? I thought it was like, yeah, that's kind of a cool song. It's kind of got a little interesting riffage in there and a little bit kind of mixing it up, not just totally straightforward.
Yeah. No, that song is absolutely great. I thought it was cool that, that was one that was off the beaten path that I absolutely enjoy. So I have nothing bad to say about that.
Well done, Mats. All right. Well, let's talk about our friend Mark Streagle then.
Okay.
He picked Spellbound, another song I'd never heard before. And I was like, I liked his reason for picking it, though. He talked about it being at the end of the album and being kind of just like everybody's kind of spent, hungover at the end of the album kind of a thing and vibe. And I got that. But that's another song I'd be like, yeah, I don't know. Maybe if I own the album, I might fall more in love with it. I mean, it's not an awful song.
Right.
You want to comment on that one?
No, I thought, again, cool song off the beaten track there. It's interesting though, because Mark is always a guy that picks the hits. So it was interesting to see him go in that direction. When I helped him program his radio station back in the day, that was kind of one of the things that we talked about. He would say, oh, the deeper tracks are cool, but the more people are going to check out the hits. And I've always been of the kind of opposite frame of mind, because if people want to hear the hits, you now have terrestrial and satellite radio that you can listen to. So but it is what it is. He again, no pick here is right or wrong. No one here is picking When You Wish Upon a Star by Gene Simmons. So
yeah, we could probably all agree on that one not being good. All right, let's see. There's one more Brian song on here, and that came from me.
Oh wow!
Yeah. And the only reason I picked it was that a yuck. Oh, okay. The only I was surprised that nobody picked anything from Back in Black.
Right.
Because again, it's by far and away, it's like I think one of the top 3 albums in the history of the world, right?
Right.
Like ever, as far as sales.
And as far as from the SoundScan era, from the early 90s to now, it's Metallica's Black Album, that I believe a Shania Twain album and a Garth Brooks album are like the 4 albums that have sold the most throughout the world. So, I mean, and it shows, because look, Metallica and AC/DC are still bands that are still stadium bands. They're still bands that can go out there and really, really do it. So again, it just goes to show. You asked people that you work with that aren't even remotely rock fans, and they were able to come up with AC/DC songs. So again, that just goes to show. So
that's incredible.
Yeah.
So anyway, I kind of, part of me wanted to pick the song Back in Black, because I mean, even though it's one you've heard like a million times, it still never fails to like get you going. You know what I mean?
Right.
But I didn't. I went for Shoot the Thrill, or
which is a great song.
Yeah, because I wanted something more upbeat and really pumping, because that's kind of what I really like. I like a song.
Right.
I mean, I like the slow songs too, and the more mid-tempo stuff. But I really for AC/DC, I want something that's really moving. So
Yeah, and this
that's
album
my
this actually has two like mid-tempo songs, like Rock and Roll Ain't Noise Pollution and Let Me Put My Love Into You are really like, and it's funny because they're both at the end of each side, so it's really like the warm down period. Like if you're working out, you get to the end of your workout, and that's like the two songs where you're all right. Stop jogging now. You have to walk, and and try to cool down. Rob Rowe is saying that Thriller from Michael Jackson too. The difference with Thriller is that both Metallica's self-titled album and AC/DC's Back in Black have not been re-released 8.2 million times with, this is the whatever anniversary, this is the that anniversary, this is the remix from the first remix that wasn't any good, so we've done it again. We've got Quincy to go back and work with the original vinyl and the vinyl press, and and then the Michael Jackson numbers are very inflated because they've like he had a manager that said that he sold 72 million singles. And then when they asked him about it, because there was no actual figure saying that, he said, well, his greatest hits album that he just released called Singles has 13 songs on it. So if you multiply that by, I forget what number, you get 72 million. So it's 72 million singles sold. They're like, no, that's like you're pulling a number out of thin air. There's no factual number to it. That's why, a lot of people like going via the SoundScan era, where even though, there are ways of tricking that system, you're more or less scanning data into something. Whereas, in the old days, yeah, we shipped 40 million albums, but 35 million of those ended up in different harbors around the world. So, they weren't actually sold. They weren't counting sales. They were counting albums pressed and shipped. So, sorry, off the beaten track there. Continue, sir.
No, that's good stuff. We want to be factual here. We're trying not to be fake news here. So, yeah, who knows anyway, but nobody can deny the power of AC/DC though in the world. I mean, anywhere, like I'm saying, anywhere you go, you hear an AC/DC song, people are going to go nuts. All right, well, let's go back to Bond songs then. Well, let's see. I think we already talked about CEO Dave's song "Walk All Over You." I thought that was a great choice. Bill Leverty of Firehouse, which full disclosure here, Bill's a good guy, a great guy, a fantastic guitar player. I've never been a Firehouse fan, and I've seen him a couple of times, and I'm like, guy, I should like these guys. I mean, there's nothing wrong with them, and their songs are good. There's just something, I don't know, that's just not quite hitting me. So I'm thinking I need to somehow, because Bill's such a good guy, get some of their music on the station, because I don't have one of their songs now.
Right.
There's got to be some more, like some deep cut, really rocking songs of theirs.
No, I
but
agree.
Anyway,
I like the song "Reach for the Sky" by them, which is I think the title track off of the second album, which is a really upbeat, like rocking song. But yeah, I'm not personally a fan of the ballads. So
no, it's the, what's that? I finally found the love of a lifetime or something like that. I have this really bad habit of changing up the titles of songs, and I've even done it with songs from my band too. But I always called that one "Finally Took the Dump of a Lifetime."
There you go. Oh, wait a second. 1 second. We have breaking news. Jeremy Weltman has joined us. Welcome aboard, Jeremy. He's one of the diehards. We welcome you aboard. We hope you're doing well. Rob, yes, 100% with the Kiss solo albums. That's exactly what took place, is that those numbers are based on albums shipped, not albums sold, because there's no way that Peter's album charted anywhere near what the others three did. So anyway, go ahead.
The Peter's album's the only one I haven't heard, which is pretty ridiculous. That because I love his voice. I mean, Black Diamond. Okay, let's just talk
Mhm.
about Black Diamond for a second to kind of segue. That's always been one of my favorite Kiss songs.
But he didn't write it. So
No, he didn't write it, but he sings it.
yeah,
Okay. And there's a part there where he screams, there's nothing that you can do, that
yeah.
part there. And I'm like, that is just such brilliant rock singing on that song. I love what he does there. So, but then you got crap like Hard Luck Woman and Beth, and I'm sorry if you guys love those songs. Again, just opinions, right?
Yeah.
It's not a personal thing. So now that Jeremy's here, Jeremy, you missed me. Good. It's good to see you're wearing your Sabbath shirt.
Yeah.
Jeremy, you missed me talking about how your AC/DC song was my favorite of the 10 that we played. I'd never heard that song before either. So anyway, I just loved it. So thank you for picking that.
Another thing that you asked before, Johan from Sweden has joined us. So you asked if there was anyone from Sweden aboard. You summoned Johan from Sweden. Welcome aboard, sir. Glad to have you here.
Yeah, Johan. I don't know why, but everybody I've ever talked to from Sweden has been like the coolest people ever, and that's why we have two guys from Swedish bands in our band of the week thing so far. And there's other guys out there that would probably love to join in because again, they're all so dang cool. So let's talk about those. We already talked about Peter. Let's talk about Ross Sampson from Rock Candy Magazine. He picked Touch Too Much.
Love that song.
It's a great song. But what I really love about it was his reason for picking it. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if you remember that, but it was the very first AC/DC song he'd ever heard.
Okay.
And I love the fact that he actually had hair back then when he heard it. So
yes, great story.
Yeah, if you've seen a picture of him, hair is not something he's he's really sporting nowadays. He's fitting the Mark Streagle concert going.
Yeah, the Touch Too Much is one of those songs that's off of Dirty Deeds, right? Or off of Highway to Hell?
I think it's off Highway to Hell. Somebody throw us a bone here.
So let me look it up real quick. One of the most exciting things of all time is to hear someone type while you're live streaming. AC/DC, Highway to Hell. But
yeah, okay, it was Highway to Hell. Yeah, we had a couple of songs off Highway to Hell, and that brings me to I think the next song, which I kind of blew through it with Bill Leverty. And the reason he picked this was Girls Got Rhythm, which that was to me more of a mainstream song. But again, his reason for picking it was really good because in his cover band days, it was the one song they played that everybody went nuts.
Right.
So, further proving my AC/DC theory.
Girls Got Rhythm. Funny, they used to play that back to back with Highway to Hell on the radio because they were 1-2 on the album. And I remember as a kid, because I would go roller skating and I'd always request AC/DC because that's what my brother played all the time. We had Back in Black, but we didn't have Highway to Hell, so I'd always request I'd either request the title track to Dirty Deeds, or I'd request Highway to Hell, or actually Crazy Train, but that's not AC/DC. Anyway, so I remember hearing it on the radio, and I'm like, I got to tape this. And that's what I did, and I taped it, and they let it play all the way through to Girls Got Rhythm. And I remember as a kid, it like totally blew my mind. I'm like, wow, this is an AC/DC song that I've never heard before. Before the days of streaming and all of this, you were, when you couldn't afford stuff or you didn't have a friend that could tape it for you, and I was probably like 6 or 7 years old at the time, none of my friends were listening to AC/DC. So I taped it, and I had Girls Got Rhythm because of that. So,
well, that's a song that I had heard, and really like. So that's why I actually led off when we did the block of it. I led off with that song for that reason. I wanted something really upbeat to start things off, and like I said, I really liked his reason for picking that song. So
Right.
so
Rob,
I think we've
sorry.
covered all 10 songs.
Oh, okay. Rob, yeah, there's no zucchinis on here. There's no one chewing. You may see me take a sip of ginger ale every now and then, but or you could have Brad taking a sip of his well water, but yeah, no chewing, so that you guys can enjoy it. So there you go. Yeah. So the next band that you're gonna have is band of the week. You've kind of been dropping hints.
Yeah. The
And
shirt gives it away. It's Black Sabbath because we're going B. So
right.
Black Sabbath. So I hope everyone tunes in for that, and I'm hoping Rob joins in and picks a song. And before all you got to do is pick a song and then record an intro that I can play in front of it, telling us who you are, and then I kind of pimp you out after I play the songs individually, about every
Right.
10 songs for a week, and then I start blocking them up where I play them back, all 10 or whatever. We're gonna have a lot more Black Sabbath songs, by the way. I play them all in a block with everybody's introduction. So it's yeah, hopefully it's going to be fantastic. The interesting thing here is we actually, I figured with all the songs that Black Sabbath has, what are the odds that somebody's going to pick the same song?
Yeah, I don't think anyone picked the
happened.
song I picked.
Nobody picked the song, which, by the way, and I don't want to give away what you picked until we play it.
Right.
Which again, super strong choice, and I'm applauding your choice on that, because I haven't picked my song yet, and because there's so many, and I gotta wait till everybody else is picked, and then I'll pick up from there. But anyway, so somebody actually picked the same. Two people have picked the same song, and I'm trying to sort out how I'm going to deal with that. I'm going to let the person who picked it first kind of get dibs on it, and I'm giving the other person a chance to either pick another song, or I can, come on after, their introduction and say, well, guess what? Somebody else already picked this song, and I'll probably still, when I play them separately, I'll let them have it if they want to do that, or if they want to pick another song, we'll go from there. But it's interesting, the selection right now. It's across the board, which nobody has picked anything off the last Sabbath album, which I actually expected you to do that, Victor. I was like, yeah, he's going to pick something off 13. And
the song that I picked, I've always been a proponent for.
Which is a good reason for picking it.
Which is a good reason for picking it, because I think it's a hidden gem that, like, my explanation, if you guys hear what I say about the song, is exactly what I feel. There's a reason, and the lyrics to me are very powerful for that song. That song came out during a difficult period in my life. So the lyrics actually is one of these things where, I've always said this: when music is good, you have an emotional connection to it, regardless of when it came out. And as a result, you always turn to certain, bands or certain albums or certain songs when you're down to pick you back up, or when, things are going great, you want to keep that high going. I'm actually sporting an Armored Saint shirt tonight. I've had this same discussion with John Bush, because his Anthrax albums came out around the time period that I'm talking about, and that's why those albums stick out to me more than the Joey era albums. I love the Joey era albums, but the Bush era just kind of sticks out, just because, again, shitty time in life, and there's songs and albums that were there to kind of comfort you and make you keep going every day. So this is kind of why I picked the song that I picked. So
it's a great choice, and so hopefully everybody here will start listening when we start playing these songs. If you follow Yarg Metal on Twitter, I will tweet out when I'm going to play songs and whose songs they are, because that's part of the promotion. If you're on Twitter, and I just started an Instagram, so you can follow us there. Facebook, you can follow us there, and so I'm going to be, everybody who's picked a song is going to get some promotion on all of our social platforms. And so but Twitter's probably the most real time as far as seeing when something's actually going to play. And I kind of give you, and I'm not going to say it's going to play in 2 minutes, because I realize that's not realistic for somebody to be tuning in at that time. So Jeremy wants to know when it's going to go live. And that is a great question. The boss man, CEO Dave, has been holding me back because he has some people who want to participate. And so I've been kind of waiting for some of those people to show up with their picks. But I'm thinking I'm going to start it anyway on either Sunday night or Monday day. Probably it'll probably be Monday morning in your time, Jeremy, and your time, Victor. It'll be Monday morning when it'll start. So just because I don't have a problem with somebody showing up late to the party, I'll still get them in the door. Okay, we're not closing the door and locking it,
right?
Because there is one person here who's famous for being a little tardy, and I got him in after we'd been playing songs for 2 days, and because they're a friend, and plus they made a great choice. So, and they're coming in a little bit late this time too. And I won't say that it's Mark, okay?
Can you divulge some of the people that are involved, or is it going to be the same people as the AC/DC one, or are we going to have more people joining us that weren't part of the AC/DC round?
Yeah, everybody that did the AC/DC round wanted back in, which I'm glad, because that made me feel like, hey, everybody had fun doing this.
Yeah.
Bill Leverty asked out because he said, I'm not much of a Black Sabbath guy and I'm really busy, which he's actually been playing shows in Kentucky. I guess there's no COVID in Kentucky. I don't know. Who knew?
Yeah. Well,
so bless his heart, man. I'm glad that there's live rock and roll somewhere, and that hopefully those gigs are all safe and everything, and everybody's doing okay from that. But I get it. He's busy. But he's reserved the right to join back in later, and I'll always extend that to him. But everybody else is back in, and then we have some new people, and I'm just going to say, listen in and hear who our new people are.
Okay.
I do one really weird one, and my brother tells me this is actually from Eric Singer, okay? Which I've been reaching out to people who have been in Black Sabbath maybe for a moment to see if they want to join in and pick a song. And supposedly we've got a pick from Eric Singer. But he didn't want to do the intro himself, so we hired a voiceover person to do it for him.
Are you serious?
Yeah, I'm not. Well, I'm serious that's what happened. I'm not serious. I don't know whether it really is Eric Singer or whatever. But so anyway, yeah, you'll hear the song, and it's a great choice. It's actually a song I would have picked, just because it's my favorite all-time song to play on the bass. But yeah, you'll just have to listen in and hear what that is.
Is there a solo at the beginning?
No, but that actually might be my pick.
Okay.
That's another one of my favorite songs to play. It's one of the very first songs I ever learned to play on the bass, and so there's going to be some pretty cool people joining us. And well, I guess one thing that's different too, we'll be getting a different person from Mean Streak. So from Sweden there, the singer Andy, he's they're kind of mixing it up, letting other guys in the band join
That's
in.
cool.
Yeah, I thought that was cool too, and his pick is fantastic. And yeah, guy, we need to get you to put a Mean Streak video in the Patreon.
Yeah. I will.
You should do the title track from their last album, Eye of the Storm.
Okay.
It's really, really good.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'll add it. I have to put together, and I want to shout out to all the patrons. Obviously, Brad, Jeremy Weltman in the UK, Mark Streagle has recently joined us. The metal dentist Gabriel Ruiz has recently joined us as well. Let me think. Mike Jones, Steve Hoker, and I think that's all of us. We've got a small but great group where it's a troll-free environment. We're playing a lot of different, like I said, I add between 2 to 6 videos a day. People are chiming in about which videos they like, which ones they don't like. They're all new videos for the most part. I mean, there are a few that I may goof up or I may repeat here and there just because I'm posting so much stuff. But what we've been doing is we started a playlist up where it's curated by the patrons. So songs that are being picked are being added to that list. You can actually check the list out. I've set the playlist up in Apple Music and in Spotify. If you go to Mars Attacks Radio / playlists plural, you'll find both playlists. And then if you subscribe to one or the other, you could hop on in and check the playlist out, or you can actually play it right there on the Mars Attacks page. But if you guys want to join in and help pick songs, or just check out the videos, or just a great environment, we talk about all types of different hard rock and metal things, and even stuff that isn't, because we've gone beyond that. I kind of, I run it, but I like hearing what other people, what other people's opinions are. So there, I get PR releases from bands that are releasing, punk stuff or alternative rock stuff. And, at the end of the day, to me, it's either good or bad music. Yes, I steer more towards hard rock and metal, but if something else comes my way that I think is interesting because it's either really good or maybe even it's really bad, I'll post it just to see people's opinions. So if anyone wants to join the Patreon, it's as little as $2 a month. And if you go to MarsAttacksRadio.com, you'll find link to Patreon. You'll find a link to, if you want to watch the replay of this, you'll find a link to the Signals from Mars YouTube channel and all the great social media links there as well. And for those that are joining us for the first time, Signals from Mars, this live stream happens every Friday. And it's 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific. For those in the UK and in Europe, it's 11. It's usually 11 p.m. and midnight on Fridays, but Friday going into Saturday for those that are confused in Europe. But because we haven't changed the clocks yet, this week and next week, it's an hour earlier. So there you go. All
right. Who's Etterboat?
That's Johan from Sweden.
Johan. Okay, Johan, that is a very, very strong pick there. And that is one that I'm seriously considering. It's not one that I played a lot when I was young, but in a later band I was in, we played it. And oh man, that's a fun song to play. Super fun.
That was one of my
great choice.
That was one of my favorite songs off of the first Nativity in Black Sabbath tribute album. It was done by Biohazard, so it was kind of a more hardcore, kind of heavier style to it. They placed on the song, and just the syncopation with the part with this song, where it really has more of a hardcore type feel. It really feels like a Biohazard song, but it's obviously a Sabbath song. So it's cool that they made that song their own. So that's why I always loved, that off of that Nativity in Black album.
Yeah. I think Stryper covered it too.
That is true. Yes.
Yeah. Their versions, it's pretty true to the original, but it's really good cover. Good song. So great song, I should say. Yes, Johan.
I'm trying to, oh no.
Something bad happened?
Oh, yeah. What's bad is that my typing stinks.
Okay.
Instead of typing in Yarg Metal, I typed in yard metal.
You know, the funny story about that is, I think it was when I interviewed Udo,
Okay.
Dirk Schneider, and his son Sven.
Mm-hmm.
Udo, when I was getting Udo to do a shout out for the station, you know, yeah, this is Udo Dirk Schneider. You're listening to Yarg Metal. He couldn't figure out what Yarg Metal was. He kept saying Yard Metal.
Mm-hmm.
And so every time he did it, and his son would chew him out. He'd go, "No, Dad, it's Yarg, Yarg, not Yard." And
That's fun.
those guys, God, that's like one of the funnest experiences that I've ever had, was hanging out with those guys. Talk about guys
That's
who are
great.
really cool and not Swedish. Yeah, those guys were a lot of fun, and they couldn't have been nicer to me. And if anybody wants to listen to that interview, it's on our YouTube channel, Yarg Metal.
Cool.
And yeah, that's one of my favorite ones. So yeah, give it a listen.
Yeah. Johan says he agrees with my assessment of that cover. So cool. So yeah, if you go to yargmetal.com, you've got links to the Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and Yarg Country. So
yeah, there's a Yarg Empire. That it started off with Yarg Metal, and Yarg Country came along later. And right now it's on hiatus.
okay.
It's going through a bit of a retooling. The person, I have nothing to do with that, by the way, because I know nothing about country music, and
Okay.
I'm totally okay with that. It's not, I'm not a hater or anything.
Right.
I love all kinds of music. I mean, heck, I play in a bluegrass band, for heck's sake. Not that I'd
Mhm.
ever listen to bluegrass music, but I play it. And I respect all kinds of music. And I
Mhm.
got to say that a lot of country music now is more rock than,
Yeah.
you're going to hear anywhere else. And at
Well,
least there's people are buying it, so I give them
yeah.
points for that.
You got to thank Mutt Lang and Shania Twain for that.
Yeah.
Mutt Lang really, took the 80s pop rock formula and really brought it to country. And that's why you've seen like a crossover with Def Leppard and other bands that have done, duets with people in the country world, because, there's a lot of similarities with how it's done. It's interesting. I forget who the judge is. I think it's the guy that's married to Nicole Kidman, who's a judge on The Voice or one of these like shows on TV. And they had the singer of Riot, I believe, tried out last year or like the year before. And, he's like the 8th singer in Riot.
The current singer?
Yes, yes.
That guy
So,
can sing his ass off, man.
right. So Keith Urban, I think, is the guy's name.
Okay.
So, oh wow, you've got "Thinking Out Loud" by Fu Manchu playing. I love that song. Anyway, so he says to the guy as he's welcoming him to his team or whatever. He says, "I grew up a huge metal fan, a huge hard rock fan, but my voice sounds like this, and I had to be a country singer because I couldn't sing in a rock or metal band." So I thought it was really funny. I never followed it beyond that, because usually with all these different shows, they try to de-rock people and, hey, why don't you sing this Michael Bolton song, or why don't you sing? And it's like, yeah, okay, whatever. Just become another paint by number singer instead of, showing your pipes off, which, a lot of the people that they have on these shows probably can sing, but they just want to have them sing the same old. But Jeremy is asking what the news is on the new Yarg Metal app. Is
That
there
is
an
a
update?
great question. Jeremy, everything's day by day. So far from what I hear from our IT guy is that everything's been submitted for the new apps, and we're just waiting for him to get approved. It's interesting, the process it has to go through with Apple. They actually listen to the station and make sure it's, like, I don't know. Yeah, they actually care. Why? I don't know. But Google seems to be like a stamp and done thing. As long as you got money, you can get a Google app. but
Right.
I'm still waiting to hear on that. I
Okay.
kind of was hoping that would happen when we started this band of the week thing, so I could use that as kind of a push. Hey, check out our new apps, because the current Apple app, it works, but it has issues and it keeps locking up from time to time, and you have to restart it. And when it works, it's great though. Yeah, and then Android one, the Google one, you can't find anymore. I don't know where it went or what happened. So if you've got it on your phone, it works. That one works pretty solid.
Right.
So, but yeah, so we're hopefully they're going to have new features. They're going to be supposedly much better, and you guys will be the first to know when that happens. But
Cool.
the back to Fu Manchu for a second here. The only reason I was playing that song is because of you, Victor.
Oh,
And
wow.
because of you putting the Fu Manchu video on from the El Camino, or whatever. What's
Yeah.
is that the
California
album?
Crossing is the album.
California, yeah, with the El Camino on there. I love El Caminos, by the way. Yeah, I was like, okay, I'm getting this album. It's interesting how many songs that I do play on the radio station have been, come to me from other sources, and a lot of it has come from stuff that you have put on
Oh, wow.
the Patreon. So yeah, if you guys are interested in new music, get on, follow Victor on Patreon.
Cool.
Besides, you get to hang out with all these cool people. So
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Rob, you're saying I want to do a Mike Patton show if you guys are interested. As in, oh wow! Now the Power Station, Living in Fear. I had that album. I will tell you, I had that album 3 years before it came out in the U.S.
Wow. Yeah. That album is really an odd album.
Yeah,
I mean, for Power Station, I mean, it's got some pretty heavy stuff on there, which I think Living in Fear is pretty heavy.
The title track, which you're playing now, was my favorite song off of the album. Outside of the point that Robert Palmer is singing about coitus interruptus, he says during the during the middle of the song. But yeah, weird album because John Taylor isn't a part of it. He was still in Duran Duran and didn't want to do the second album. Then shortly after this album comes out, so before it came out in the U.S., Tony Thompson dies, the drummer. And then a few years after that, Robert Palmer ends up dying. So Ricky Warwick told Mark Streagle recently that Andy Taylor, the guitarist who's living here in Spain, is going to be releasing another solo album, which I have a solo album of his that was never released in the States called Dangerous. So,
yeah. Isn't it, has that got covers on it?
Yes, it's all covers.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I actually have that somewhere.
Oh, you do? Cool.
Yeah, I do. I do. Yeah, I actually like Andy Taylor a lot. He's a rock dude, man. He's actually a really good guitar player.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So again, Rob is saying I want to do a Mike Patton show if you guys are interested. So, as in a single episode on Mike Patton, you're saying, or you're gonna do like a
get him as a guest,
where it's gonna where you're gonna do a whole series, a new podcast show on Mike Patton. I will say this: I got to see Faith No More when they got back together, like in the first year that they were doing shows. I saw them at a Sonosphere here in Spain, and I want to say that it was 2010 or 2000. It was 2010, and the only reason that I remember is that Patton was doing the right thing, and he was Spain wins the World Cup in soccer that year in 2010. And Mike Patton, while he was on stage, started talking up things that happened in a game that had happened like a few days before. And the crowd went wild over it. So that's the difference between a front man, just saying, oh, well, what city are we in again? And someone actually sitting down and doing their homework and, wanting the crowd to go apeshit when they're up on stage. So kudos.
Yeah, I got a great story about that. Okay, I'm sure
Okay.
everybody screwed up what city they're in at one point or another. But I was
Right.
at the South Texas Music Festival. I used to go to that every year.
Right.
Because yeah, talk about San Antonio, Texas. It's got to be like the hard rock heavy metal capital of the United States.
Okay.
Those guys, they're in 100% in, but and they have this great festival and they have great
Mhm.
bands. But the one year where they had Stephen Piercy there
Okay.
as a solo act,
Mm-hmm.
and he got out there. Bless his heart, man. He got out there and he goes, "Hey, El Paso," and
Oh, and
and
that's like
in
45 minutes
Texas,
away. Yeah.
yeah, I don't think there's a state in the United States that has more state pride than Texas
Right.
and more city pride than in Texas. I mean, it's like they hate anybody that's not from their city. I mean,
Right.
yeah. And so the crowd would not let it go. I mean, he almost didn't get to finish his
Wow.
set. I mean, they ripped him a new one. I mean, it was just like, yeah, I'm surprised he got out of there alive.
Well, I got to see Buck Cherry here back in '09, and Joshua Todd says, Mexico, are you ready to hear Crazy Bitch?
Oh
And I'm like,
no.
you flew. If you flew from the East Coast of the US to Europe, you flew at least 6 hours, 5 hours, plus, whatever you did to get to here. And you're saying Mexico? Seriously? Plus, at the time there were a few Mexican, people that were at least Mexican descendants in the band, Latinos in the band. So I mean, I was like, seriously? What'd you do? You slept from LA to here and you think you woke up in Tijuana all of a sudden?
Wow. That's pretty bad.
Yes.
How'd that go over with the crowd?
Well, they're lucky because, probably out of every 1,000 people there, there's probably one per every 1,000 that knows English. So they luckily got away with it. Spain is probably one of the countries that probably speaks the least amount of English in all of Europe. So,
Hmm. All right. Well, I guess I gotta work on my Spanish then.
let's hear. Rob says the best Mike Patton was in Chicago, opening for Tool in his band Tomahawk. I know of Tomahawk from way back when. That's if I remember correctly, Dave Lombardo on drums, is it? And the Melvins bass player on bass, perhaps. I don't know. A guy who his nickname was Milky when I worked with him. I remember burned their first full length for me way back when, like in the early 2000s. So let's see. And he said, who the biggest pussy is? Points to Michael Jordan's jersey and gave it
Ooh.
to Bird. Wow. In
Oh.
Chicago.
Wow.
Wow. So the complete opposite. In my story, he's trying to get people to cheer for him in a good way. And in your story, he's purposely trying to piss the entire crowd off.
That would do it.
I've heard a band get the day wrong. Thanks for coming out on Sunday. It's Friday, dude. Yeah, wow. That's bad.
That's all right. That's not offensive.
Well, it's not as offensive
It's
of hey El Paso when you're in San Antonio or
yeah, especially have you ever been to El Paso?
I've only been
Nobody wants their city compared with El Paso.
well, it's right on the border, biggest border city in the U.S. if I'm not mistaken, both in the north or the south. So
Yeah, the only time I've ever been pulled over in a car by the cops and asked to look in my trunk was right after I drove through El Paso.
Because that's where that famous sheriff is who pulled over Willie Nelson, and he's like they purposely pull over people, I guess, of a certain look, aka long hair, to see if they've got if they've got, some pot in their car. So
Yeah.
there you
The
go.
funny thing is, I didn't even have long hair back then. I just finished my LDS mission, so I had fairly short hair back then. But anyway, I thought it was amusing. They're like, "Yeah, we want to look in your trunk," and I'm like, "Really?
Yeah.
Okay, knock yourselves out. There's no bodies, and if there was a body in there, that would have really been something."
Yeah. My cousin is saying hello, New York, when bands play the old Meadowlands. Well, at least the Meadowlands really aren't there anymore.
Yeah, because that's in Jersey, right?
Yeah. So this
Even
was
I know that.
well when I listened to a wrestling podcast frequently, and earlier this week there was a big to do with a WrestleMania happening in East Rutherford, New Jersey, aka the Meadowlands, where there used to be an arena that a lot of bands played at. That has since been turned into a shopping complex. But anyway, yeah, so you're technically 5 miles away from New York, but you're in New Jersey, and people are saying hello, New York, because it comes down to money. It's cheaper to play the old, you know, Continental Airlines Arena or Izod Center or Brendan Byrne Arena, the original name, because union labor is cheaper in New Jersey than it is in New York. So a lot of bands would play that arena instead of playing in the heart of Manhattan because they would take more money home. So Mike is correcting me. Dave Lombardo's in Phantomus, and now Mr. Bungle, I believe it was Josh Freeze in Tomahawk. Could very well be correct. I thought he was in another band with Patton, but I could be wrong. Let's see. Johan is saying Faith No More. I saw it. Roskilde. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. In '92 with Nirvana and Pearl Jam and Megadeth and Entombed. Wow, that's what a lineup. Let's see. Sounds great. I saw them at Download. So Jeremy, you might have seen them on the same tour that I saw them. If they were wearing all white and they all had you know the flowers that are usually brought out for funerals and for Easter. I don't know if they're orchids or what they are. I'm not
They might be Easter lilies.
or Easter lilies. Okay, there you go. See, I don't have a green thumb, so I don't know. Yes, all white. So same tour. That was the essentially the original lineup minus Jim Martin, that I know a lot of people were all bent out of shape about because they brought in the third guitarist came back, so it was technically like the last lineup of the band before they broke up. They finished off with a soul song. Yeah, here they sung. There's a song in English. It's called Evidence, and they released it as a single in Spanish in Latin America and here in Spain. So they played it. Patton actually sung it in Spanish on stage. And again, people just ate it up. He can sing, he's released albums in Italian. So, I mean, he can, he's recorded songs in like 7 or 8 different languages. So it's a credit. That's like Pavarotti level stuff where, you can, you can roll with it and kind of do it's not easy to sing in another language that your tongue isn't accustomed to doing and pulling it off so that people don't say, that sucks. So, let's see. Yeah, they started with Reunited. Yep. When I saw them as well, they started out with Reunited, the old Peaches and Herb song.
Yeah, feels so good.
That's it. So, is there anything else you want to add before wrapping up?
No, this has been great. Thanks for having me back, Victor. Yeah. I appreciate it. And thanks to everybody who joined in. And start listening to Yarg Metal. Yeah, you can start right now. And I've got a whole bunch of new music that I'm trying to get into the program.
Cool.
And I'm hoping it's supposed to be really bad weather here tomorrow. And so I'm hoping to be able to spend some time doing that. And so, there'll be even more. Of course, it's going to be, if you haven't been listening, then most of it's going to be new music to you. You'll probably hear stuff, but
right. So we're going to be expanding to what, beyond 11 days without any repeats?
The interesting thing is with the AC/DC stuff, it almost went 2 weeks before
Oh,
it
wow.
looped around. Yeah.
Cool.
Like, wow, it's a lot of music.
Yeah. Wow, awesome.
And more to come.
Brad is back by popular demand all the time. You guys always ask to have him back, so anytime that he's available, he will be asked to come back. So be careful what you guys wish for. More Brad
That's
Dahl
right.
and Yarg Metal in the future. I want to thank everyone who joined us tonight live. Remember, Fridays, 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific, usually 11 p.m. in the UK. Follow me on social media for all that. And for anyone in Europe, like myself, like Johan, it is usually midnight Fridays going into Saturday. You can catch the audio version of this usually a week after we record live. You can find that on MarsAttacksRadio.com. And you could subscribe, in all the usual podcasting places. But MarsAttacksRadio.com, you can find links to all the great places where you can subscribe and follow me on social media and whatnot. Thanks to everyone who joined us.
And I got to say something to Jose. That's Jose, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Jose, he's your cousin? Is that right?
He is.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, Jose, we got to hang out. Where does he live?
He lives in Connecticut.
That's where CEO Dave lives. Okay, I'm going to make CEO Dave take you out to dinner or lunch. Okay, we're going to make this happen. All right, because you're obviously a way cool dude, Jose. You're not a registered sex offender, are you?
No.
Okay, good. Not that there's anything wrong with that. We don't want to judge. But it's just CEO Dave, since he's been kicked off of all these platforms, I think that would probably just push him to another level.
Right. In any event, on that note, again, thanks everyone for joining us. We will catch you next time right here on the Signals from Mars live stream, brought to you by the Mars Attacks podcast. We will see you.